Welcome to K21Academy. In this video, our expert will be discussing Azure Front Door, a CDN service with additional features for improving web application performance and availability. This video shows how to set up an Azure Front Door to route users to the closest web app server, improving website performance and availability. Also, stay till the end for the free class video if you want a high paying job in Azure Cloud by our very own Atul Kumar. Let's get started.
Now here, front door and CDN profile. So as I said, like these services were like different altogether. But now what Microsoft has done that you will be able to like provision both of them under single umbrella. Like you can select front door and CDN service components together and pick and choose that which one is basically works for you. And at a time you can provision one services in that case. If I'm looking for front door, then I just need to select Azure Front Door and quick create or custom create. Both options are part of it. Whereas the explore other offerings, this one is something offering you CDN services to be configured, and it will help you out in terms of planning and managing your content delivery network combination under this particular option. Now, if I get started with my front door creation, so front door, you need kind of you can say options where you can basically plan first of all the pricing tier. So it is offering you standard one with delivery optimized and premium one with some particular additional features enabled with the front door as in capability offering behind the scene. So we can plan that, and accordingly you will be able to go through with your particular front door service to be implemented. Now, the objective over here is that you need to define the origin type and origin host name. So basically, whatever the components or services we wanted to map behind the scene, you will be able to provide that, and accordingly, you will be able to plan and manage or work with that particular services the way we wanted to go for. So here I can say, like, whenever we are planning with front door as in service, right? So front door is offering you a kind of here I can say, if I wanted to explain a simple diagrammatic approach, then front door service basically covers three elements of it. First is if I can consider the on-premise network. If you have any let's assume that Azure uh, region, let's consider that way. And this one is like other cloud service provider. So I can think of that these are the three category. Basically, we can define it with our front door as a service. Now, what is the use case behind this? Okay, like why we should worry about or think about front door as a service? Because we already discussed about traffic manager, application gateway, and all that stuff. So, what is the objective behind front door as a service? Now, application gateway, what we saw. So the purpose of application gateway is to provide you that application gateway service basically restrict your traffic within the region itself. It's not the global service. It's basically a kind of regional service within that region itself. You can have that communication to be available, right? So here I can assume that if it's Azure specific implementation, or let's start with, for example, on-premise one, okay? So in terms of on-premise point of view, you can consider that three different consideration we have over here on-prem region and or Azure specific services and all that. And here we also think about like how the overall infrastructure we can plan it out and implement over here. So design consideration is that you may have your on-premise, you may have your any other cloud services, And here you can think of, like, let's say, so here I'm considering the Azure specific locations. So in case you are willing to interact with your services, then in that particular case, you will be able to plan and maintain and work with your particular services back into the system. So front door service basically allows you that on-premise service you can pick up that whatever the different kind of workload you have, it may be possible that you may have some legacy system in place. If it's a Azure specific service, or if it's like a third party or other cloud service provider options also, you may have different set of workloads to be implemented. So you can have virtual machines, group of virtual machines, or anything like if it's on-premise, right? So probably you can consider that on-prem, you may have like set of servers available, right? It can be your infrastructure to be part of it, and with the combination of that, you may simply go ahead with like any legacy apps or system if you have, and you wanted to define your particular traffic routing to that specific endpoint. If it's Azure specific, maybe I can consider that you can have kind of different compute services as a part of it. It can be your VM, it can be your app services, anything you can put up behind that, and those services can be like helpful to you in terms of planning and managing your traffic routing kind of activity back into the system, what we are like looking at it. So you can consider the Azure specific services, and from other cloud services as well. You may have your particular infrastructure based components or services to be up and running, and you will be able to like connect with those particular endpoints as and when required. So ultimate objective over here is that the purpose of you can say the purpose of this particular uh, front door as in service. So whenever you are planning to go through with your content delivery and files for some global applications and API, so front door service can help you to deliver the high availability, some lower latency, and greater scale at the same time, and then you will be able to plan and maintain and work with those particular environment the way it is expected. So ultimate goal over here is that, and here if I wanted to define the hairline difference, right? So last week we compare those services with each other like traffic manager and all of that. So that way at least we talked about it. Now, maybe the question comes in mind that, okay, I mean, front door service basically helps you to route your traffic with HTTP, HTTPS traffic and all of that. Then what's the major comparison if we want to think about application gateway and as well as like front door service point of view, right? So here you can consider that here you can use like front door in terms of load balancer kind of and traffic routing options. It will also cover up health probe. It will monitor your particular health probe across the apps what you are hosting it under that, and it has some particular like you can say built-in mechanism to secure and protect your particular workloads back into the system as well. So the major difference over here is that Azure Front Door comes up with some of the predefined built-in features as a part of it, right? And in case you are looking at any specific like high level decision making, right? So front door, I can say it's a global, and it provide you a kind of traffic filtration over the HTTP, HTTPS both. Whereas traffic manager is also global, but it doesn't support HTTP or HTTPS traffic routing in that case. So the hairline difference between traffic manager and front door service, where you get business requirement for DNS based routing, there is only DNS, plain simple DNS based routing required. Then simply go ahead with traffic manager. But where you see that filter to be put up in terms of HTTP, HTTPS point of view, then you should go ahead with your particular front door services in place. Application gateway is like your regional service and it supports both HTTP, HTTPS. And load balancer is like regional or global, but it doesn't support HTTP or HTTPS kind of activity or services in that case. So, front door service basically delivers the network which provides global load balancing, site acceleration service for web applications, and it offers like layer 7 capability like application gateway for your application like SSL offload, path-based routing, fast failover, or caching to improvise your performance and high availability for your applications and all that. So in those particular scenario, you can have the specification available, and according to that, you will be able to define that infrastructure planning and overall activity what we are like looking at it. Now here in portal, if I go and check with my simply let's say load balancers, okay? If I search for load balancer, so if you see there is one link, load balancing help me choose. If I click on it, so let's see what is happening over here. So here, even Microsoft has given some comparison for you. If I just close this, so you will see that application gateway, front door, load balancer, and traffic manager. So here they have given some feature comparison as well. That here it is like internal and public, whereas this one is global layer 7 load balancer. This is also regional layer 7 load balancer. This supports SSL TLS offloading, and this is also supporting the similar feature. So if you consider that in your traffic routing and networking policy implementation, if you need regional to be selected, go ahead with application gateway if you have single region kind of approach and all that. And if you have like multi-region where you need to achieve similar kind of objective, then definitely you can go ahead with front door as in service operation in that case. So here is the service comparison also given, right? So the way we discuss that table, the similar table comparison metrics given in portal itself. And if you see, there are some of the built-in tutorials are also given. So Microsoft has introduced some of the new UI enhancement in portal itself so that let's say going forward in future, if you wanted to do some particular change in your or you want to explore something within the portal itself, then I think you have these options to be followed and you can simply create and work with your activity on top of it. So they are trying to embed some of the informations or from the load balancer or from the traffic routing and management point of view, you can have these particular options to be part of it. So in case when we are planning to work with this particular sort of activity, you will be able to get these options by default. So these selection and everything is part of your Azure portal only. If you wanted to see this comparison and all that, search in Azure portal, load balancer, and as soon as you type load balancer, here is the option load balancing help me choose. So this is embedded inside the Azure portal only. You don't have to go anywhere else. There is no separate link. This is part of the portal itself. And from that particular location, you guys will be able to get insight about those particular approach. So now what Microsoft is trying to do is that they have started embedding some of the offerings, understanding feature comparisons and all of that. So those things will be part of the options. Maybe you can consider it in that case. So here we will be able to plan and select that what approach we are expecting and how we would like to go about it so that in case of planning and designing any particular solution, then how this particular approach probably going to work out. Now, the other option is that there are some of the reference links and the business use case also available as a part of this particular modules as well. Say for example, if I am looking for application, let's say for example, I have application where I wanted to capture the real-time location sharing app, right? So maybe you can think of like nowadays there are many different business use cases are coming up. Say, for example, the Swiggy, Zomato, and all that, right? So they are coming up with some of the application where they are expecting that looking at the delivery boy, right? They have to find out that what is the closest location for the delivery boy, that looking at that current location of the delivery boy, they need to check that which one is the nearest order has been placed. Based on that order has been placed, they need to send the notification to that particular respective delivery boy that, hey, this is the nearest store you got order placed, and here is the nearest location for you to deliver that particular food item. So usually, like front door point of view, I can consider that it will help enterprise to identify looking at that location wise, or looking at that particular individual delivery point of view. They will identify the locations, and maybe they can help them in terms of priority routing or performance based routing also to be supported back into the system. So they will be able to like get nearest location notifications, and then probably they will be able to go through with some particular location based approach to be taken care back into the system as well. So ultimately, like it's a kind of approach, or maybe you can say a use case specifically what we need to identify, or we need to visualize that whenever you are planning to implement this, or you are like looking at this particular scenario to be plan and manage, then you will be able to go ahead with this deployment. And with this particular deployment, you can simply plan and maintain your particular traffic routing mechanism behind the scene. So we need to identify, or you can say, we need to visualize that how this particular approach probably you can plan, and you will be able to maintain that specifications back into the system, and then accordingly you will be able to plug and play and maintain your particular infrastructure deployment and other activities the way you wanted, right? So here, to look at this particular exercise, or the implementation part of this particular front door service, what we are like planning to do is that we are going to provision, first of all, the simple front door configuration. Okay, we will be provisioning that particular service, and here we will be mapping that particular front door services. We will be adding the specific endpoint. We will be connecting that web application, and then we can verify that how that particular front door service going to work out, and like what sort of implementation options are available. Yeah. So in general, like front door services point of view, you will be able to plan and manage, or you will be able to go through with some of the implementation with this particular front door as in service, and then you will be able to like play around with those implementation side of it, and then accordingly you will be able to go ahead with your overall configuration the way you want it. So the advantage over here I wanted to consider is that here it is a combination of both content delivery and as well as the traffic routing with HTTP, HTTPS, and it is offering you global combinations. The deployment of this service can be taken care with different options via portal, CLI, ARM template, like multiple features are available to design and implement your particular services. This particular load balancer or front door service can be integrated with app service, or it will also accept like DNS, web app storage, and many more particular domain and origin management, where you can define that how you wanted to route your particular traffic, and then accordingly you will be able to manage that. So the goal over here is that to identify and visualize that in case of planning and working with your front door services, you will be able to plug and play and manage your particular traffic routing mechanism back into the system, what we are like looking at it. So yeah, ultimate objective is that the scope, what we need to think about it, that how your front door service going to be allowed, And if in case anything WAF, you can say you want to provide web application firewall, or you just wanted that filter to be implemented so that your service is going to be work out, and then accordingly you will be able to plan and maintain your environment the way you want it. Yeah. So here what we can do is that we will be understanding some of the like implementation part of it, that you will be creating a particular simple service, the app service, and along with that we will be able to configure this particular front door, and we'll see what all the configuration options are available, right? So that way at least it will help you out to build and design and implement your front door components for the cloud perspective. Now here, according to this architecture, we will be looking at this particular middle box, that we can have front door service, we can have at least two web app to be up and running. Let's say right now it's like VM, but I will put it under the PaaS only. So we can have two PaaS services, and underneath we can have both of them associated with some endpoint. And with that particular endpoint, we will match this traffic load by, sorry, the front door service configurations, and then it will help you out in terms of interacting with those particular services all together in place. So objective is that you will be able to plan and manage, or you will be able to plan and maintain the overall interactivity. And when it comes to this particular service point of view, you will be able to go through with your particular end-to-end deployment, what we are like looking at it. So let's get started, and I'll show you the simple demo of how we can plan and what sort of approach maybe we will be able to go ahead with that. So here, first of all, I'll go ahead with my front door creation. Let me create front door, Azure Front Door, and we will be selecting quick create, right? So quick create is basically give you the some specification straightforward. Continue to front door service. Here I'll create my front door hyphen RG East US. I'll give a name, my AZ front door, and I'll put my name extension so it will become unique name. Now, from the pricing point of view, as of now, I'll go ahead with premium. Okay. And here, what we need to consider is the endpoint name. So let's say AZ learning endpoint, and I'll put my name extension. So if you see, to make it unique name, it will automatically create some unique characters associated with that. So if you don't give this long name also and just say this, then also it will create a unique name for you, and it will associate that endpoint for your reference. So I'll give it that origin type. Now, right now, if I wanted to fix this particular service to any particular built-in service offerings by Microsoft, then I can select one of them. I'll say custom because I will select on my own later stage. Okay. And here, maybe the host name, what you need, azlearning.com, let's say, for example, that's my host name I'm giving. Now, usually this is something you can pick and choose the host name as a unique host name if you wanted. Later stage, maybe we can modify accordingly. Now, there is an option of private link, okay? So what is the goal of this particular private link? So for example, in your organization, like if I'm looking for a private one, or maybe I wanted like a dedicated network for remote user where they can feel that they are going through over the internet, but the connection is like private kind of. So in that particular scenario, uh, you will be able to apply this particular options. You can enable the private like endpoint, and then accordingly it will help you out to secure that as well. Caching right now, nothing to be provided. And WAF policy, right now there is nothing. If we wanted to at all provide, let's say I'll give like my WAF policy and say create. And here I'll be clicking on simply review and create. And here I can simply click on create. So here when we go ahead with the custom one, right? So custom profile basically allow you to play around with your own choice of your services. Like you don't want to go ahead. I mean, if you are aware that you wanted to put one service at a time only, or maybe you wanted to target a particular environment only, then you can pick and choose that built-in one, and you can straightforward go ahead with that particular component. But let's say you are planning to change, or you wanted something differently to be implemented, then definitely you can simply go ahead with the custom one, and then you can come up with the choice of your own particular component, and then accordingly you will be able to plan and maintain that specific activity the way it you wanted. So here, basically the objective is that to provide you a kind of WAF also created, front door also created, and with all that particular combination, it will spin up and provide you a kind of complete combinations, and then we can go ahead with the further implementation. So let this get created, and we will be able to wait for this. So here we will be putting like a web app. Okay, so this web app is something going to help you out in terms of planning and working with your app services, and maybe it will like simply get created and we will be able to use that particular services over here. So let's wait for the service to get created. Okay, so here the service gets created. So here if you consider that you have some of the predefined configurations are there, right? So what we are like having in place is that we have the services to be available, right? So let's consider that we are going to create two application instance, which we will be deploying it into two different region. And both web application instance, we are going to keep it as an active mode, which means that we wanted this particular both application can have incoming traffic, and this configuration maybe we can think of active standby configuration, because we talked about that active passive or cold ER kind of thing, right? So here we will be going through with most active scenario only. So here I'll pick up the web app. Okay, yeah, I'll type it out, app services, and let's click on create web app. Now here, app services point of view, I'll be selecting like same resource group if we want it, right? So here I'll go ahead with same resource group to be selected and say my FD app 01. Okay, and I'll go ahead with code .NET 6 Windows based options. Now instead of premium, okay, let's go ahead with standard S1 only. Standard S1 is fine. Okay. And database and all that, we don't want anything as such. We just simply go ahead and simply click on create as in web app. So this one, this app service, maybe I'll give a new name. Let's say my FD app East US plan. Okay. No database, nothing is required. Deployment is fine. Networking. Okay, I'll keep monitoring turn off, not required right now, and then say review and create. And say create. Now we will repeat the same step for second instance as well. Okay, I will create the second web app, but this time I will keep different location. Web app name differently. Let the first step gets created. So this is my like first web app got created, and let me repeat the same process. And here, same this one. Here I can say my FDApp-02 region. What is happening? Let me reload once. Here I'll say, let's say Central US. I'll keep it S1. No database, no deployment, no networking, monitoring, no, and say review and create. So here now, if I go to my resort group, so I do have my two app services are in place. So here, what we can do is that now we have the particular option available in terms of working with the approach that you will be able to plan and maintain and work with your particular overall environment, what we are like looking at it, that we have everything ready now, like all the services. For example, we wanted this approach for front door creation, the two web app services, what we are expecting to be part of this particular system, we are like looking at it. And according to that, we just simply play around with our overall implementation. And the objective behind that is to plan and maintain and work with our further implementation of the services, right? So it will help you out that, okay, I mean, you will be able to take a call that uh, like any particular business use case point of view, you are planning to build and implement or set up any of your particular end-to-end activity, then how this front door navigations and other stuff going to be work with it. Now here what we need to do is that we are like going ahead with our front door services to be implemented, right? So in this particular scenario, or maybe you can say in this particular options, we just need to simply plan and maintain our endpoint mapping. So here I can go to this. Here we have front door manager, and if I click on add an endpoint, so see, there are like couple of options available, okay? So you do have this particular endpoints are like part of it where you wanted to plan and maintain and set up anything, then you will be able to go ahead with this approach, and it will provide you a kind of specification that how you would like to play around with this implementation, and then altogether you will be able to go ahead with your overall implementation what we needed. So ultimately, like the goal over here is that you just need to define the objective that in case of planning and working with your front door services, then what sort of objective we are like planning to take care, and then according to that, you may simply go ahead with your overall objective the way it is expected. So as of now, like when it comes to implementation perspective, right? So what sort of approach we are like looking at it, and in case of planning and working with any of your implementation, then what is the objective we will be able to go ahead. So if I show you this option, let's say create, for example, one profile we have created, but let's say quick start is something straightforward, get with WAF and all that stuff. But if I select like custom create, then what will happen? Okay, I would like to show you that as well, because in quick create is just that service get provision, but in custom create you will get some of the options from scratch itself. So here I can say, okay, we'll go ahead with premium and say my FD profile and my name I'm adding it. That's your basic configuration. Then second is your particular uh, secret options. Okay. So this feature is optional. So if you are planning with any HTTPS certificate to be mapped over here, say for example, even you can bring on, you can work on this BYOC. BYOC means bring your own certificate. So if you wanted to bring your own custom domain certificate you wanted to embed within your endpoint, then here is the option where you can add your certificates and then you can map it underneath. So that options maybe we can think. Right now that is not mandatory, so we can do it later. Then next you have endpoint. Okay, so under the particular endpoint, so here you can click on add front end endpoint. So this endpoint which we were looking at earlier, it's the same thing. So here you can provide, let's say, my FD endpoint, right? And here you will be able to click on add. Okay, so here you have your endpoint in place. You have your particular routes and all that options are available. So in case you wanted to plan and manage and configure anything as such in this particular activity, where you will be able to plan and maintain and work with that. Now earlier this add route button was outside of this, but now they have like added inside this three dots. So maybe you need to click on this add route. Okay, and under this particular add route page, what you will be able to do is that you will be able to configure your endpoint where you will be able to map your particular web app, which is something you will be able to assign it and add it under this particular option. So here I will say my FD web app 01. If you see, this is the endpoint domain name which you get it, the path, or maybe you can consider that path is right now optional. If you wanted to redirect your traffic request to particular location folder or something, you can. And here I will say that okay, new origin. Why it is not coming up? Okay, so here what we are planning to do is that we have to provide some of the particular input so that whatever the origin group we need to play around with it, okay? Whatever the site or endpoint you wanted, so that specific site and endpoint going to be workout or it's gonna be added as a part of it, okay? So here what we need to do is that we can click on this add new origin group. Let me duplicate this meanwhile because we are supposed to pick up our web app endpoint name as well. It should be part of this overall config. So for that purpose, I'll keep it open. Now here what we need to do is that here you will be able to provide your let's say my FD origin group. Okay. And under this, you will be able to click on add an origin. Now, name of the origin could be anything, right? You can provide your particular web app name or something. Here I will say Azure App Service, and here you will be selecting FD01 app, and I'll say my FD01 web app origin. If you want to give same name, you can, right? Any enable the validation. So it's basically if in case any certificate based objects or anything we wanted to associate with it, then you will be able to provide that. So right now I'll leave it as is, no change required. And HTTP port 443, all those priorities and other things will be given in that case. So I'll click on add origin, and here you will get these options like enable the health probe. So whenever the site is like being accessed, so it will keep on checking that what's your particular site reference and all that. So you have added first web app. I will add another web app as well. So here I will say my FD web app 02 app service, second app, and say add. So you can have both the apps to be part of it, and rest of the methods, rest of the configurations, we will leave it right now as is and simply click on add. So under this particular single origin, we have provided these particular options. and we have considered that these particular services going to be mapped under this. Now, forwarding protocol. Right now, I mean, the forwarding protocol is like same protocol as the incoming protocol. Say, for example, maybe if in case anybody requesting for the HTTP, so it will go for HTTP. If somebody requests for HTTPS, it will go for HTTPS as well. So I'll leave it as is right now. No change required. Okay. And here you can click on add. So this is your first rule added. Okay, so I was just trying to showcase both the option. First option, you create your like front door service and then you add these particular endpoint and everything. Or else if you have like existing front door service in place, right? Say for example, this one was existing. So I can go to this and here you can go to your front door manager and under this right now, it shows that default route got created for you. But if you wanted to enable any additional route, you can go from here and you can repeat the same process or same activity what we have done. So this activity basically showcases that when you are planning to go ahead with your creation or maybe the overall endpoint policies and routing policies which you wanted, then you will be able to go ahead with that options and then accordingly you will be able to plan it over here. Now there is additional options available called add policy. Okay, so here I can consider the policy mapping as well. So this policy is more about like your web application firewall policy for one or more domain in the profile what we have. So in case if you wanted to provide any additional policies over here, so I will say my FD policy, right? And here you will be able to select that this policy applies on where. So I will say, yeah, I have created my domain, so apply it to here. And currently WAF policy, maybe you can select that one which we have created earlier and click on save. So this will be applicable that, okay, this is the firewall policy will be applicable and this will protect your particular web application from any vulnerability or any malicious bots when they are trying to bring your particular web applications and all of that. Then that way, at least you will be able to protect that particular environment the way it is expected. Now here I have these apps running. Everything's got configured now. Review and create. Now this is the second version API of front door service. Okay. So maybe when you are working in portal, you will get two type of front door service. One is with coming up with classic label and second one is this one, which we are using it. So that's why you see that UI chain, that add rule and add policy, what was kind of hidden button inside that. Earlier they were like straightforward in the UI, but now like just to save place and all that, I don't know why they put it inside that. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, here we can simply click on create option. So let this gets configured. So this is basically now setting up complete activity for you. So this one is like created with the overall environment and here is your particular endpoint. If I copy this and try to view this endpoint, so this will right now it's an HTTP. So I'll say, yeah, proceed to this URL. I know this endpoint is fine. Now, as of now, like both the side of applications are same. So you will not be able to make it out. But let's say if I go to my portal UI and let's assume if I stop my web app, still this will work because it will refer to your individual web app health point and then it will keep responding accordingly. So as of now, your first web app got stopped and let me go and stop second one as well. So in general, like now you will see the services are like kind of unavailable because you are trying to reach both the instance and these particular instance are like no longer available so that it will basically will not redirect your particular endpoint and it will get freezed the specific web application what we have. So Ultimately, the goal over here is that to provide you a kind of idea that front door services point of view, if you are planning to design and implement any of this kind of use case, then you will be able to plan and manage or work with some of the environment, or you can say it will provide you a kind of altogether better value and services in a place, and then you will be able to play around with this particular component the way you want it. So ultimate goal over here is that to provide you a kind of approach, or provide you a kind of like activity where you can simply plan and manage and maintain your particular infrastructure altogether in place, and then with all that particular combination, you will be able to all that particular activity you will be able to deserve is that you will be able to plan and manage and maintain your particular interactions behind the scene, and then according to that it will give you all that approach to be get going, and then you can simplify the implementation of that activity what we are like looking at it. So it's the approach, or maybe you can say a kind of activity where front door service going to help you out in terms of planning and working with your all together, or maybe you can say like different type of traffic management operations and activity in place, and then accordingly you will be able to plan and maintain and work with your use case what we are like looking at it. So yeah, I think the primary objective is that you will be able to plan and maintain, or maybe you can say work with your traffic routing management or traffic routing planning and activities all together. And then in that scenario, from the cloud perspective, if your objective is to select appropriate load balancing mechanism, then I can suggest that looking at the options, looking at the scenario, and with all that particular scenario and concept, you will be able to play around with your selection. And with that particular selection activity, you will be able to go ahead with this particular approach the way you wanted to go for it. So yeah, I think the recommendation over here is that from planning and working with your traffic routing mechanism or traffic management related mechanism back into the system, then I think these are some of the options maybe we can pick and choose from the available load balancer. And with the help of that particular load balancer options and selection criteria, you can simply go ahead with all that offerings the way it is expected. So yeah, the objective is that probably to pick and choose your right component, making sure that your load balancer works effectively into your system, and then you can have a better traffic routing management in place, and then altogether you can simply go ahead with all those services all together into the system what we are like looking at it. Yeah. So basically, after performing this activity, make sure that you keep cleaning up your resource group so that you will not be able to, or no longer will be applicable with your pricings and all of that. So just make sure that you clean up your resource group post deployment. So yeah.
Well, that was our expert, and thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the video. Now, all you have to do is just click the link in the description below, or if you are just starting out, just type k21academy.com/azure02. Now, all you have to do is just enter a name, enter email ID, enter phone number, and click on register now. And you will be redirected to this page. You can also add this to your Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, and I promise this is something that you don't want to miss. So go ahead, click on the link and step into the world where learning knows no boundaries. Till then, keep enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.